At the beginning of the 20th century, building an automobile was not an industrial process, it was a craft. Inside small workshops across America, teams of skilled mechanics surrounded a single vehicle frame. The car did not move, the workers did. They walked around it, carrying tools from one bench to another. Metal parts were filed by hand. Bolts were adjusted repeatedly until they fit properly. Engines were lowered into place slowly using rope and pulley systems. Every movement required coordination. Every mistake required correction. In 1912, producing a single automobile could take more than 12 hours, sometimes longer. If you were standing inside one of those early workshops, you would see wooden floors stained with oil, workbenches cluttered with hand tools, and 3 or 4 men focused intently on a single machine. The pace was steady, but slow. Each worker knew the entire vehicle from beginning to end. There was pride in that completeness, but there was also limitation. Automobiles were expensive. Most Americans could not afford them. They were luxuries, not necessities, but demand was growing. America was expanding. Cities were growing. Farms were spreading across wide landscapes. People wanted mobility. They wanted speed. They wanted independence from rail schedules and horse-drawn wagons. And inside a brick factory in Highland Park, Michigan, someone began asking a different question. What if the car moved instead of the worker? In 1913, Henry Ford and his engineers experimented with a new idea. Instead of building one entire vehicle at a time, they broke the process into small, repeatable steps. A steel chassis was placed on a moving track. Instead of workers walking around the frame rolled slowly past them. Each worker performed one task, just one. One tightened bolts on the front axle. Another installed the steering column. Another attached the wheels. Another secured the engine mount. The car did not wait for workers to reposition themselves. It moved forward steadily, stopping briefly at each station. If you were inside that factory on the first day of the moving line, you would not hear applause. You would hear the quiet rotation of overhead shafts. You would hear the clanking of tools. You would see workers adjusting to a new rhythm. But something extraordinary was happening. Production time dropped dramatically. What once required more than 12 hours now required just 90 minutes. Think about that transformation. 12 hours reduced to 1.5. The assembly line did not make workers stronger. It made the system smarter. Tools were positioned within arm's reach. Parts were delivered directly to stations. Movement was minimized. Repetition was optimized. The factory floor developed a pulse. Chassis rolled forward. Workers leaned in. Bolts tightened. Frames advanced. And as production accelerated, something else began to change. In 1914, Henry Ford made a decision that shocked the industrial world. He doubled the daily wage to $5 per day. At a time when many factory workers earned half that amount, Ford's offer seemed radical. Critics predicted financial collapse. Newspapers debated the strategy, but Ford understood something fundamental. If workers could afford the cars they built, the market would expand naturally. Higher wages reduced employee turnover. Workers stayed longer. Training costs decreased. Efficiency improved. The assembly line was not just a mechanical innovation, it was an economic engine. Inside the Highland Park Plant, the rhythm became constant. Overhead belt systems powered tools. Conveyor tracks guided chassis precisely. Workers stood in fixed positions. The car came to them. But this new system also transformed the meaning of labor. Before the assembly line, a worker might proudly say, "I built that car." After the assembly line, a worker could only say, "I installed that wheel." Skill narrowed. Tasks became specialized. The pride of full craftsmanship shifted toward mastery of repetition. For some, this meant opportunity. Jobs became more accessible. Training became simpler. Employment expanded. For others, it meant monotony. Repeating the same motion hundreds of times a day required discipline and endurance. But beyond individual experience, society was changing at a larger scale. As Model T automobiles began leaving the factory in unprecedented numbers, the streets began filling with vehicles. Dirt roads that once carried horses struggled under rubber tires. After heavy rain, automobiles sank into mud. Drivers pushed stalled cars from soft ground. Communities quickly realized that infrastructure needed to evolve. Road construction became a priority. Counties graded surfaces. Gravel replaced loose soil. Engineers studied durability. Bridges were reinforced. The automobile was reshaping geography. Fuel distribution changed as well. At first, gasoline was purchased in metal cans from general stores. Soon, dedicated fuel pumps appeared beside roadside buildings. Glass cylinders measured fuel as it was dispensed. Small repair garages opened in growing towns. Blacksmiths retrained as mechanics. Spare parts businesses emerged. The industrial ripple expanded further. Steel mills increased production to supply chassis frames. Rubber factories in places like Akron, Ohio, expanded tire manufacturing. Glass companies scaled windshield production. Railroads transported finished automobiles across state lines. What began as a moving track inside one factory became a national network of interconnected industries. Detroit transformed rapidly. Smokestacks dominated the skyline. Rail yards expanded. Residential neighborhoods grew outward to house factory workers. Suburbs formed along accessible roads. Mobility redefined daily life. Families who once traveled by train or horse now drove independently. Farmers transported crops faster to markets. Workers commuted from farther distances. Businesses relocated closer to roads. Time felt compressed. Distance no longer dictated opportunity the way it once did. By the early 1920s, millions of Model T automobiles were on the road, and the assembly line philosophy spread beyond automobiles. Appliance factories adopted sequential production. Food processing plants implemented standardized workflows. Complex tasks were divided into measurable steps. Efficiency became the language of progress. The modern industrial world was being structured around coordination, repetition, and scale. Inside the factory, the clock became symbolic. It no longer marked daylight alone. It measured productivity, output per hour, units per shift, industrial tempo. Society began mirroring this rhythm. Workdays became structured, supply chains synchronized, urban planning adapted to automobile traffic. Yet the transformation remained subtle. If you stood inside the Highland Park Plant in 1913, you would not see fireworks, you would not hear speeches. You would see steel frames rolling steadily forward, workers focusing on precise movements, overhead shafts rotating. Quiet efficiency. But that quiet efficiency reorganized civilization. The assembly line demonstrated that systems could outperform individual craftsmanship in scale. It showed that production could be engineered, timed, and optimized. It proved that accessibility could grow from structure. The automobile was the machine. The assembly line was the revolution. And from that moment forward, humanity did not merely build products, we built systems. Systems that shaped economies, systems that structured labor, systems that accelerated civilization. One conveyor belt, one factory floor, one idea that replaced human wandering motion with synchronized precision. And the world has never moved the same way again.